Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast, and today we are talking Directive 8020 because, as a lot of you will know, at the Future Games Show we got a new trailer and some new features regarding Turning Point and some digital deluxe information as well, so we're going to be deep diving into that this episode. But mate, shall we start off with like the gameplay bit of the trailer?
Yeah, seems interesting. It seems that I think it's Joseph, can die by getting crushed with a pod. So I know when I play the game, I'm not going to inspect any of those pods as him. There's a point as well where you see like that face in that wall of goo. And I'm wondering if that's a reference to the horror film Basket Case. I'll put it up on screen so you guys can see it. It just looks like a mirror image of it. And my third and final point for you, mate, is that really interesting bit of tech we get where the characters are asked to walk through that scanner, which I guess supposedly can tell, you know, if they're like their vitals, whether they're human or an alien or whatever. So it's cool that we have that to kind of level the playing field a little bit. And with the tagline being trust no one, I think we talk about these games, how often like when you're nice it rewards you because people remember your actions. I think if there's a game to be cutthroat, it's this one. And I honestly think like there's going to be your closest peers, potentially some romantic interests in there, which are actually going to be taken over by the alien or like shapeshifted as them. So I think I'm going to go into this with a really cutthroat approach. Knowing there's this tech, I'm going to be like, yeah, step the fuck in there before we chat. It's just, I'm not sure if I like it in the sense that it'll be pretty easy to potentially determine who's an alien. If someone's being avoidant about going in, I'm going to be like, well, it's you then. So we'll have to see how it's used, but still really interesting nonetheless, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point, that because I mean, like I said with my story idea, this is something that I've been calling for to really spice up the dialogue scenes, and the whole shape-shifting thing perfectly lends to that. And someone actually, I think in our comments, made like such an interesting suggestion that they think there could be times where we actually lose a character but don't know about it, and then the alien comes in and we're maybe playing as them and talking as them, and we think that that person's still alive, right? But it's not, it's the imposter, which I think would be interesting because it sort of breaks the rule of horror, doesn't it, of like confirmed deaths and things. But like you say, maybe this is the game to sort of really break convention and challenge the player. But I think the scanner thing was very interesting. Coming back to another video we did, the first thing that come to my mind is if there is another potential threat or another potential twist, I wonder if AI could potentially come into this game, because obviously it's sort of it's a situation where obviously if this scanner is active throughout the whole game, you sort of then think, well, okay, so we're going to be able to identify who the alien is, because as you see in the trailer, you get that sort of announcement, don't you, to say that this is not a human. So I'm wondering whether that AI potentially could intervene and go a little bit rogue, and that could make things a little bit more interesting, or if there's a complete failure, like a failure in power, and therefore that's what makes the scanner redundant in the situation. But I really like it. It was quite a short and snappy trailer, very tense. The trust no one was very intriguing, and there's another little Easter egg in there as well. I swear I heard that the same clicking noise as you got from the bats in House of Ashes. So I know that you're going to be on the same sort of, is it the Cetus constellation, I think? There's going to be that sort of like link there as well, but I do wonder if there's going to be more ties to House of Ashes than that.
Yeah, that's true. Or, you know, they're saving costs and assets by using the same sound clips. But because it is basically, you know, we think it's from the same universe, then I think it's a very plausible theory. So yeah, no, I can see that very much being the case, mate. But yeah, no, I mean, that's what we have to depict in that one. Let us know in the comments if you spotted anything and what you think of our theories, I guess. But mate, should we talk about this like turning points feature?
Yeah. So to be honest, I semi saw this coming, and I feel like Frank Stone is almost like the perfect, and the Quarry. Technically, you could say the Quarry. I know the Devil in Me come after the Quarry, but I feel like those two games are like the perfect bridge between season 1 and season 2, because they were almost experiment with new things. And you had like the Death Rewind thing in the Quarry, which is obviously now Turning Points in DPA. But you've also had the cutting room floor, which was in Frank Stone, which has now been implemented into Directive 8020, which, to be honest, I really like. You know, I've said this in previous videos with the flow chart in Detroit Become Human. It's that sort of that sense of display. They're proud of what the branching is in their games, and the fact that we're now going to start to get these in like regular supermassive ones as well. I'm all for it, mate. How about yourself?
At the start, I was a little iffy because I mean, we might as well bring the attention to the poll, right? Because you put up this poll the other day, mate, where you asked people, will you use the turning points feature in your blind playthrough of Directive 8020? A whopping 83% of 104 votes, as of this recording, have said they're not going to use it. And I think I think you will as well, sit in the same camp as the majority there. One thing I really liked was like his last line, pretty much, where he says, "Oh, we have a survivor mode for people who still want to look at the flowchart, but want to kind of live by their decisions and their consequences," which is very much how I want to play the game. You know, like I've played these games where I've lost characters, but I want to see how many I can get to my blind playthrough. I know people out there that will want to rewind when they kill a character, and I guess it's good for them that they're really tailoring the experience to the player, because no player's gonna, be the same. There's different people with different styles who play these games in a certain way, so it's great that they're catering to that. But yeah, I'm more just thrilled about the fact that it'll be easier to, get the collectibles afterwards. And like you mentioned, I love a flowchart menu. The one from Detroit Become Human was amazing. They obviously introduced it to Frank Stone. I've always used that analogy of open kitchen policy, where it just shows off like this, we're proud of our game. This is literally the branching. You can see how linear or how branching our choices are, and they're not shy to admit it. So it's really cool that we're getting that from a DPA game, because I think some of them in the past have been fairly linear. I'm looking at kind of maybe like A Little Hope, for example. So yeah, it will be just super interesting and easier for us to dissect just how kind of big this game actually is. So yeah, just I won't be using the feature on my first run anyway, but it just means that replayability is just going to be a lot stronger for us as well.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there. I'm definitely doing survivor mode on my blind playthrough, but that's the thing, like you mentioned, it's not just for the choices and for like the achievement hunters like myself, but there's going to be little missing collectibles, and actually that takes us quite nicely onto the digital deluxe edition that they've got as well.
Can I just say one thing? There is that little temptation in me that, like, because obviously if I lose a character from a heartbeat sequence or a choice I've made, I'm fully just gonna live with that. But there is that part of me that, like, if there's like a bullshit glitch that happens, or let's take another video game like Lost Records, where I lost a character because like I got a glitch from, say, like like that section with Corey. If I feel personally hard done by a choice, there is that temptation to rewind just in case something like that happens. I will put survivor mode on and trust that there isn't any, because I feel like for our analysis series that we will be doing, I want to give it a fair shake and I want to live with my consequences. But yeah, the fact it's there, it's going to leaving it etching temptation, like I know the Quarry did with like the I can't remember what it's called, rewind mode, right? So yeah, but alas, mate, there you go.
And the thing is, with the Quarry, I believe you only had 3 rewinds, didn't you? Whereas with this, it suggests that you just get an infinite amount of times, I'd assume. So, yeah, I do get your point, though. I mean, thankfully, on my end, I've not really experienced glitches in my blind playthrough with these games, but one day that's probably going to end, right? So, I completely get it. I do think, though, I'm in the camp where I'll go survivor mode and I'll trust that everything's a-okay on the glitches front. But there is that other part as well, lad, isn't there? The digital deluxe edition. Now, they didn't confirm a price, so maybe we'll have to either do a little bit more digging, or maybe there's just something that they're going to reveal at a later point. But what have we got here? So we've got the full game, we've got the Dark Pictures outfit pack, a digital art book, a filters pack, a collectibles mission, which is quite interesting, and the digital soundtrack. So what do you make of these, mate? Is there any particular one that you've got comments on?
Not particularly. Like, I mean, it's not something I think I'll be getting. I think if there's a standard edition, I'll just be going for that. But it's super cool that for people who are interested in that, they do get that. We know like people cherish like merch and the art books and stuff, and a lot of people really like having cosmetics and costumes. And like, it looks like obviously you've got like the same faces that we get throughout the DPA series. It's super cool that it looks like we can bring Salim and Jason back in the game to be Joseph and Sims, I believe. And then I think you can be like, maybe is it Julia as the Zoe Anders girl in the character? Like, so it is really cool that if you miss those past like DPA characters that you can potentially bring them back. It's very reminiscent of when I used to play like say Resident Evil 5. And then like you could dress like the characters up in like a zebra suit, and it really takes the sting out of the horror. But for people who want to glam up, then that's great for them that they have that option.
I've got to admit, I'm a little bit on the fence. I do think price will come into it, but I'm not really particularly bothered about the sound. Well, who knows, I might love the soundtrack, but the digital art book and the filters pack, obviously they did that with The Quarry, and I did try it out on a couple of instances, not for the entire game, but for just for a few scenes, and it was pretty good. The collectibles mission, that's interesting, and that seems like a throwback to Frank Stone, where maybe they sort of introduced the relics, didn't they, from like the DVD universe, and in this game obviously there's going to be little collectibles that hark back to season 1 as well, which I think is pretty cool. But as far as the outfits, yeah, like, because what they did with The Quarry, they just changed different outfits, didn't they? They had that the 80s outfits and the current outfits, and they were pretty cool. But I think that actually, weirdly, by reusing the same faces as they have from previous games, it's actually a great advantage to them, because they can just hark back to some of those old characters, and there'll be people in there, like I'm looking at the picture now, and there is Jason and Salim, and they're like some of the favourites in the community, really. So if they want to go in and they can put Jason and Salim characters like back into the game with Directive 8020, then they can, which, there's going to be people out there that love customization and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm all for it. I just have to see what the final price is.
Yeah, let's just get Jason nowhere near Brianna, thank you.
One other thing that I forgot to bring up, mate, is that we did get that little moment in the trailer, didn't we, where we could see some of the branching. And I don't know about you, but there was one thing that stood out to me, because I was pausing this frame for frame, but it seems like we have our confirmed death in the prologue, and that's the character of Sims, because it says that Sims got hurled into space, which I guess we could see coming if we think of the golden picture frame from The Devil in Me. But have you got any thoughts on that, or was there anything else you spotted in the branching?
Yeah, really interesting stuff in here, because me being me, I put my YouTube on like slow-mo mode and I dissected every frame, looked at every bit of text. And yeah, there's a lot, there's one point where you see the branching and they go through like the, I think it's like the medical quarters or something, and it goes straight to the next section. But there's actually branching that they missed, so it looks like there's a whole array of other stuff you can do that this particular example missed in the prologue. It seems like you can have a heart-to-heart at one point. That's pretty cool, because I do think the prologues are fairly lacking in these games, minus Little Hope, which was just epic and really cinematic, and my favourite part of Little Hope, in fact. But yeah, like, so I really hope that brings up the depth in the characters, but it makes me question, like, does Carter have to die? Does Sims have to die? Can Carter be like a main character in the game kind of thing? Like, does he always come back? Does he come back potentially infected? There's a lot, and is that what causes the actual jeopardy on the ship? So there's a lot of questions from it, and yeah, no, I'm just really eager to get stuck in. I don't know if I like the fact it was spoiled, but then again, shame on me for dissecting it myself when I could have avoided it. But regardless though, yeah, mate, really intriguing to see how it's going to go, and it does look like it might tee up to be... I don't think it's going to beat Little Hope's prologue, but I'm confident that it could end up being the second best DPA prologue we've had yet.
Yeah, as far as the spoiling thing, I mean, I feel like we're walking on familiar ground, aren't we? Because we had it with The Devil in Me, where obviously, you know, like the gas chamber sequence, and we had a similar thing here, didn't we, with like the guy bashing on the glass. Do you shoot? Do you stand down? But it refrained from making the choice and giving away what happens, you know, either way you go in this particular instance. But yeah, honestly, high hopes, and can I just say as well, absolutely beautiful looking game. And the more I'm looking at it, the more that the mocap seems to have evolved and got a lot better since DPA Season 1. So high hopes for this, real high hopes for this. I hope it, you know, kickstarts Season 2 with a bang. So yeah, guys, there we go. That was sort of our deep dive into the Trust No One trailer and the Turning Points feature trailer of Directive 8020. What do you guys think? Is there any nuggets in there that we've missed that you want to share with us? Do let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you're excited for Directive 8020, stick around on the channel because we've got other videos coming up. And of course, we will be streaming, doing our analysis and bonus videos once it's out in October. Until next time, guys, see you in the future.
In the future, guys.